going on, everyone? It's your girl Cara from Lights Camera Cara, and on today's episode, your girl is discussing the danger of edging God out. I'm super excited about this episode, and I was actually inspired to create this episode by a former peer and fellow public speaker that I still respect and still have a lot of admiration for. And in the discussion, in the content that I was able to view, edging God out was an acronym for ego. And you all know that I spent some time in the MLM industry. I spent some time building business. I did very well in it. And a part of that business, what you have to do is actually attend a bunch of events, speaking engagements, motivational events, different things like that. And I remember distinctly a number of different speakers coming on stage and talking about how important it was to remove ego from the equation. Whenever you're building something, whenever you're aspiring to get to the next level, whether it's in business, whether it's in personal development, it could be just in your life, maybe just your personal life. To get to that next level, you have to remove ego from the equation. Ego is not of God. Edging God out, that's what ego is an acronym for. That's what ego stands for, edging God out. And when you edge him out, he doesn't have an opportunity to come in the midst of whatever it is that you have going on and really show up and show out on your behalf. I think that same concept that I learned in that industry can be applied in the faith walk as well. When you edge God out, you literally rob him of the ability to do exceedingly and abundantly on your behalf. When I say my life changed completely when I started including God in all of my decisions, in my business decisions, in my personal practices, in my relationships, in my career, in what I'm building right now in ministry to launch in spring. If I would have taken God out of the equation and not started intentionally walking with him and including him, I don't think that I would be where I am today. In fact, I think I would be a lot further along if I had included God offensively from the very beginning instead of defensively. And what I mean by that is a lot of the times as Christians and as just people, I think just in culture, not just Christian culture, just in culture, we like to throw God in things after we've done what we wanted to do. We like to put God in things that he's really not in, but we want him so desperately to be in because we want him to fix our mess ups. We want him to remedy our mistakes, our mishaps, and just make it right again. And there's nothing wrong with that. The Lord actually is great at coming in right on time, doing exceedingly and abundantly for you, showing out on your behalf. But I wonder if you wonder the same thing, how much further you would be along if you had started including God at the very beginning of whatever it is that you had going on. When you intentionally include him, there are completely different results, ladies and gentlemen. And the danger of edging him out is you literally on your own. You're literally operating on your own. You don't have backup. You don't have someone that is literally watching out for you, telling you what to do, speaking to you through his spirit, because you're not operating with him. You don't know how many opportunities you might be missing. You don't know who you might be missing out on. God may have a specific person in mind for you, but you aren't even able to receive them because you're not paying attention to his will. You're not paying attention to his word. You're not paying attention to his spirit and what his spirit might be able to say to you if you intentionally include it, if you intentionally include him. And I don't know. There's a different swag. There's a different walk in including God, because you know that no matter which way you step, when you're following, when you're flowing in the spirit, when you're flowing in your walk with him, he opens doors and he instructs you very specifically on what to do, how to move, how to avoid certain mishaps, how to avoid certain people, situations that could potentially trip you up, that could potentially derail or delay the plans that he has for you. And ladies and gentlemen, it took me 29 years to get to this point in my life, but my whole goal in serving in ministry and creating this ministry that is being launched this season, I'm so excited about it. My whole intention is to really give a playbook and to be a mentor and to pour back into young ladies and share with them lessons that I learned later, that they can learn so much earlier and they can apply so much earlier and they can be a lot further so much earlier because I'm literally giving them the plays. I'm literally sharing with them. I think a lot of times, especially like in communities of color, and especially in the Black community, I think we work so hard to get to certain statures and to get to certain levels. And sometimes when your spirit isn't right, like when God isn't in you, you want to purposely like leave people out. You don't want to include people. You don't want to give them the playbook to how you got to where you got. You don't want to give them the secret sauce and the secret recipe to getting, or achieving what you've achieved in your life. And when I say that's not my spirit at all, like that's not the kind of women that I grew up around. That's not the kind of people that I grew up around. That's not what I was taught. I was taught each one teach one. And when you reach a certain level, you reach back. You reach back and you pull up. And that is my entire agenda in this season. Returning back to Los Angeles, I'm so excited. Launching my ministry, I'm so excited. Being able to pour back into young women, young girls, and give them faith-based principles and sound advice that is biblical and that is from the Lord specifically. I'm so excited. And that is all a result of including God, of allowing him to just take the wheel in my life, of allowing him to transform my rebellion to righteousness, to be able to walk in his essence and walk in his spirit and master that. Master walking with him and using him and allowing him to use me. Not really using him, because you can't use God. Like, God will use you before you use him, but just allowing him to use me freely, allowing myself to be a vessel in this season. I think that is a direct effect of allowing God to be at the forefront of my plans and literally including him as opposed to edging him out. And that is today's episode. Super short, super sweet, super effective. Edging God out is not the way. And you know that you're edging God out and that you're operating from a place of ego when you're not able to show up in authenticity. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes people don't know that they're operating in ego. They just think, oh, this is just like, maybe they think they're operating from a place of authenticity, but it's not authenticity if people can't feel you. People have to feel you. You can feel when something's real. You can feel when someone's being authentic. You can feel when someone's walking in their truth because they're able to show up in spaces and be a light and allow other people's lights to shine because other people are inspired by that light. And you know that you're operating from a place of authenticity when you're able to show up as yourself. You're able to stand in your truth. You're able to own your truth. You're able to allow God to come into the midst of your truth and transform you, transform your heart, transform your mind, transform your spirit. And that is authenticity. That is allowing God to get the glory. That is an effect of purposely including God as opposed to edging him out. That's today's episode, you all. I actually challenge you all to show up authentically. I challenge you to remove ego from your aura. I think a lot of the times when we're on social media, and I've even been guilty of this in prior seasons and prior versions of me, where we like to show up thinking like we're it. I used to say a lot when I was in my early 20s. I used to say, I'm her very much so. And realizing that there is no glory in that. It took me doing things my own way and literally falling the way that I did and bumping my head the way that I did and not showing up in the fullness of my truth the way that I did to realize that there was no glory in that. There's no power in that. There's no oil in that. When you show up authentically in all spaces, that's on Instagram, that's on Facebook, that's on TikTok, that's at your job, that's in your business, that's in your personal everyday practices, that's in your relationships. When you start showing up authentically and being honest about who you are and what your flaws are, what you struggled with, you literally allow God to come in and just do things that you never could have done on your own. And you know that it's him because it'll all just start to flow. Everything will just start to be because it's his will and because it's what he wants for you. I don't know who that's for, but I hope it touches someone. I challenge you to show up authentically, Less ego. Include more of the Lord. He wants to get glory. He's there. He's waiting. He's waiting to step in just for you. Stop edging God out. He loves you. He wants you to win. He's for you. I'm for you. Rooting for y'all. And that is all for today's episode of Lights, Camera, Cara. Stop edging God out. Let him get the glory. Love y'all from Lights, Camera, Cara.